All right, so this is a 2014 Ibanez RG 460VFM, which stands for Flame Maple Veneer, I think, because of the finish. Super strap. Ibanez is a really cool brand. I think for a lot of us, Ibanez was our first real guitar or our first good guitar. They offer something in every single price range. And an Ibanez RG in a HSS format is pretty uncommon. And I don't know why, because they do a great job. And for me, the Super Strat is an HSS. And this model is awesome. So quick backstory on Ibanez. Everyone knows Ibanez is a Japanese guitar maker. They have different levels. They have the Prestige. Well, they have the J Customs, the Prestige, regular made in Japan, and then there's at the bottom there's going to be sometimes it's Korea, Indonesia, for a very brief period China. This is 2013, so this is around the time when Indonesian guitars in the Surabaya plant were starting to become a thing, and production was going away from Korea. In the early 2000s to the mid 2010s, everything was coming out of Korea. World Instrument Factory, PRSSEs, Ibanez, really good quality stuff. But the early days of Indonesian guitars, for some brands like Ibanez, super high quality. For other brands like PRS, I remember playing some of those first Indonesian SE standards, and they just felt really cheap. They felt really low quality. But Ibanez was doing something right. This guitar is an example of that. So this is one of the first Indonesian models to come out. This was produced only in 2013, 2014, more or less. It is a fairly affordable mid-range RG. It has a lot of really cool features. So I'll show you here. I've also made some mods, which I'll discuss when I reach them. But here you have, just a regular standard Ibanez inline headstock. Tuners are not locking. They're standard Godos. High ratio, but they're not locking. The nut is just your standard graphite nut, nothing special here, not locking either, okay? The neck is a 3-piece maple wizard neck, and it has a bound fretboard. So those things combined make it really smooth. Also, it's finished in a very thin satin finish. So it's very, very smooth. It's not glossy and sticky whatsoever. The fretboard radius, as with all Ibanez, are about 17 inches, so it's very flat. And the frets are jumbo, regular nickel jumbo frets. And the fretboard is rosewood, some kind of Asian, maybe Indian rosewood, I don't know. But nice and dark and smooth. Bolt on with a offset kind of cutaway here, as you see in the more modern RGs. The body is, if I'm not mistaken, it's basswood, I think. It's not super light, not super heavy, with a flamed maple veneer. This is a really nice kind of violin amber finish, flame maple. And probably the best feature on this model, considering the price point, mid-range, is the tremolo. You get the Ibanez Synchronizer tremolo, which is a non-locking, but very stable and wide range trem. Almost like a Floyd Rose. What's unique about it is that the strings sit, I'm not sure if you can see this, but the strings, the ball ends sit just behind the break angle here. They don't go through the body like a Strat through a block. They're right here. So there's not a lot of space to create friction. And the pivot point are, if you can see, maybe you can't, yeah, you can kind of see. The pivot point is a ball bearing, kind of like a lever, instead of the knife edge traditional 2-point trams. So you have, it feels really, really smooth, and you have a, it's very sensitive. You can do flutters with this. You can pull up. It has a huge cutaway behind here to pull up if you want to. Really cool bridge. You see, again, this is strange for Ibanez. They don't make a lot of HSS models, but they should, because they're awesome. And they don't have a whole, there's not too many models that have this tremolo, which is a great tremolo. The Marco Svogli model also had this tremolo, the first one, and it's a premium component that is great. I don't know why it wasn't more popular. Another unique feature was that the humbucker comes with a metal pickup ring. It doesn't really do that much for tone, but it does add a little bit of kind of that cutting sound that you might get with like a Telecaster. Again, doesn't make a huge difference. I don't hear a huge difference, but it is there. Okay, so from here, that's stock. I made some modifications to this one. Oh, I should also add that also with like other Ibanez models on the tremolo, you can adjust the tension here with this wheel. It's again super modern, this tremolo design. Okay, modifications that I made to this. I'm a firm believer that an HSS pickup configuration needs to have separate tone controls, because the values of the pots make a difference in the sound. So the original pickups are just standard ceramic magnet pickups. They were nice, they were high output, they were okay, but they weren't anything special. And there was volume and tone controls, that's it. And they were 250K pots. What you should do, when if you can, a single coil, at least for the tone control, needs to have a 250K pot. A humbucker should have a 500K value pot. That's going to give you a much better balance when switching between them. So what I did was I had a custom made a Shure style HSS layout with 250K controlling the single coils here and 500K controlling the humbucker here, with also a treble bleed wired in there too. Very high quality kit, cloth covered, enamel wiring, all that stuff. But to do that, I had to add a middle pot here to control these single coils, because originally it comes with just two. What this does is that when you're switching between the two different style of pickups, they're more balanced. You're not going from a very jangly single coil to a normal sounding humbucker, or vice versa. If you are dialing your amp for a humbucker and you switch to the single coils, you're gonna have to compensate a lot with your tone controls. But when you have this setup, you don't have to do that so much. I also wired this in true Super Strat configuration, in which you have a 5-way switch, so neck, both, middle, and this position, the 4 position, I have just the humbucker split and the single, so it's more like a Strat sound, and then the humbucker is just the humbucker, right? I don't have a use to have the humbucker split by itself, in my opinion. If you're gonna use the bridge position with this kind of guitar, it's gonna be the humbucker all the time. So that's how I wired it. Great guitar, not too expensive, 500, 600, 700 euros, with all these mods, with a nice case too. Totally worth it. Easy to play, very versatile. Definitely worth it at this price range. We live in a good era when we can have really nice playable guitars for not a lot of money, as opposed to back in the old days, the 90s, right? When cheap guitars were cheap and you had to spend a lot to get a nice USA production model, whatever. Not the case now. You can get a great quality. I mean, this thing doesn't have any flaws, really. It's really nicely made from, Indonesia. So don't sleep on these ones, these slightly older Ibanezes from Indonesia. They are awesome. Pick one up if you can. Hope that was helpful.